Yeah. Old Don be on some other stuff, bro. Oh, all right, people. What's up? We are back. Conscious Approach. We're live Tuesday, February 21st. Welcome to the Conscious Approach channel on YouTube. My name is JV Wins. That's my boy Dogon SS. Have a little fun to spit that logical content on this beautiful Tuesday evening. Before we kick off with the proceedings, I'm going to say, as I always like to say, um, if you happen to be catching this video or this type of video for the first time or catching wind of what we do here on this channel for the first time and you are not a part of the tribe, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Join the tribe. Let us know what you think about what we do over here. Join the conversation, leave a comment. Go ahead and hit that like button, as we always like to say. But definitely, above all else, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you can receive notifications whenever we go live or whenever we publish new content to the channel, because we certainly appreciate that as we continue to grow this community. We are currently in a race to 1,000 subscribers. I know that does not mean much to the big wigs on YouTube, but it is our current goal, and you got to walk before, and you got to crawl before you walk. And we are certainly not embarrassed about the fact that we have to crawl before we walk. So, with that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get right into it, man. Starting off this week's topics to talk about Don Lemon. So, Don Lemon is current. Don Lemon, CNN's Don Lemon of Don Lemon Tonight is currently in hot water because he is the latest in the long line of public figures to commit a faux pas on national television, and now he is having to pay his penance for it. So, for anyone who is unaware of what Don Lemon did last week during his morning show, he made a comment that was offensive towards women. Essentially, he made a statement that made it seem as though you cannot be in your prime if you are not in your 20s or 30s or 40s. Now, that doesn't necessarily sound like the worst thing in the world to me, but it's called a bit of an uproar. So he was absent from the show immediately thereafter. He was absent from the show yesterday morning, that being February the 20th. He was also absent from his evening show as well. And as to my knowledge, he also did not appear on any CNN outlets on this Tuesday, February 21st. So we always like to talk about how these social faux pas play out with these public figures and what it all means, and the conversation surrounding certain themes like cancel culture and whatnot. And so this is the latest iteration of such an incident. So we'll go ahead and give our thoughts on what Mr. Lemon is going through. But first, we are going to share the screen so that we can read a bit about what's going on so that you can catch up if you're unaware of currently what's going on. And this is an article from Yahoo. So it says Don Lemon to undergo formal training after Nikki Haley remarks. Will return to CNN show Wednesday. Embattled CNN This Morning anchor Don Lemon will return to the show Wednesday, CNN CEO Chris Licht told staff in a memo Monday night. Licht added that Lemon, who has stepped away from the news network's nascent morning show amid controversy over his comments about Nikki Haley, will participate in formal training before his return, although no details were provided on the type of training he would undertake. Quote, I sat down with Don and had a frank and meaningful conversation. He has agreed to participate in formal training as well as continuing to listen and learn. We take this situation very seriously, Licht said in a memo sent Monday night that was obtained by the Hollywood Reporter. Quote, it is important to me that CNN balances accountability with fostering a culture in which people can own, learn, and grow from their mistakes. To that end, Don will return to CNN This Morning on Wednesday, Licht added. A CNN rep declined to comment. Last Thursday on CNN This Morning, Lemon was discussing Haley's comments that there should be a mental competency test for any politician over age 75. Both President Joe Biden and fellow Republican candidate Donald Trump are over the age of 75. While discussing her remarks, Lemon said that the former South Carolina governor, who is 51, wasn't, quote, in her prime. Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry, Lemon said on Thursday's show. A woman is considered to be in their prime in 20s and 30s and maybe 40s. If you Google when a woman is in her prime, it'll say 20s, 30s, and 40s. Following widespread criticism, Lemon later tried to apologize for his comments on Twitter. The reference I made to a woman's prime this morning was inartful. I've never heard that word before, and irrelevant, as colleagues and loved ones have pointed out, and I regret it, he tweeted. A woman's age doesn't define her either personally or professionally. I have countless women in my life who prove that every day. On Friday, Lemon offered an apology to coworkers during a daily editorial call at the news network. Lemon took President's Day off from work, according to a person familiar with the situation, who added that it was not pre-planned prior to the events of last week, but was related to the holiday. That is a lie. Lemon also had the day off Friday, but that had been scheduled before Thursday's on-air comments that landed him in hot water. So that's pretty much the gist of it. So according to CNN, he'll be back on Wednesday. And according to him and CNN, him being absent had nothing to do with the incident, but had everything to do with it being pre-planned. You can take that for what it's worth. I personally do not believe that. But be that as it may, Mr. Lemon said that a woman is not in her prime when she is in her 50s, that she can only be in her prime in her 20s, 30s, and 40s. And it got people upset. Upset enough that he was not on TV and hasn't been on TV since he said it. And now he has to undergo formal training.
That's
whatever
right.
that means. So very Kyrie Irving-esque, if you ask me. But yeah, what do you make of what Don Lemon is going through in his formal training?
I agree with it. Totally 100%. We need to cancel Don Lemon. And this is a step in the right direction. For something as petty as this, for you to get canceled for this, there's nobody that I would want more to go through this than Don Lemon. And he just said age and prime. I mean, what prime is he talking about? Political prime? Like, where are we getting at, y'all? And y'all mad about this? This is when woke is so woke that they turn on the woke. And so in this situation here, when they're getting at Don Lemon, who is as politically as correct as you can be, he has one varying opinion. It's not even that deep. And he's getting reprimanded in such an aggressive fashion that he has to go through training. I find this very hilarious, honestly. Very ironic. But for him to go through this, I'm all for it. Because he'll be one of the first people in line in the woke mob, in the woke mafia, to want to throw somebody under the bus for saying something misogynistic or racist. So getting a bit of his own medicine here. How do you feel about this situation, bro? I find this absolutely hilarious.
That is, yeah. You know, if Don Lemon had said something that offends black people and this were happening to him, I'd be like, all right, I get it. Because Don Lemon occupies the space in the national media. He occupies the same space in the national media that Marcellus Wiley occupies, Emmanuel Acho, sometimes Shannon Sharp. Sometimes Shannon Sharp is in this space as well. Michael Strahan at times is occupying this space where he, as a black person who has a national forum, supposedly has a responsibility to parrot the speech of the black collective. And so because Don Lemon says something that at times isn't consistent with the black collective, he gets called all the stuff that, he gets called by black people, sellout and coon and all of this other stuff. The same things that they call Acho and Wiley. Like, Wiley will say that this black person didn't get fired because of racism, and black people get mad at him and say that, he's a sellout. And it's like, okay, well, maybe that's just his opinion. Why does that have to mean that he's selling out on the black race? But black people can't handle diversity of thought. You have to parrot the speech. And so because Don Lemon at times doesn't parrot the speech, he catches the ire of black people. So if Don Lemon had said something that pissed black people off, and he was going through this, and you already know how corporate America is when it comes to, pretending, what do you call it? Diet woke. So, we already know how dietly woke corporate America is. So you can't do anything that is even remotely misconstrued as racist towards black people. You will get destroyed. And so if Don Lemon had done that, I get it. But what he did here is he said, when you're in your 50s, you're not in your prime. I guess if we want to rake him through the coals for this, I guess this is the point that we're at. I'm not shocked or surprised. I'm still just annoyed by it. Although I do find it comical, because I agree with you. Don Lemon usually, outside of the rare times where he will call black people out, he will stick to the script and join the brigade of people who calls everything sexist or misogynistic or transphobic or homophobic or whatever, ick-phobic, whatever you want to say. He's right in line with making sure that we all know that he's an ally for everybody. So for him to have his allies turn on him because he committed this faux pas is very funny. It's comical, but it shows you that it does not matter how much of an ally you decide to be when it comes to this hyper liberal agenda. You will still be a victim of it if you say something that is in poor taste according to how they think about it. So it's best to be someone who thinks for themselves in every situation, no matter what. And you better be someone who thinks for yourself in the beginning and not decide that you're going to follow a wave and decide to be woke, even though you used to have a track record of not doing that, because now your inconsistent past is going to come back to bite you in the ass whenever you commit a faux pas. So it is what it is. If I'm going to be reasonable towards Don Lemon, I'll say that the only thing that he did that he should be held to account for is he didn't specify what, prime can mean anything. And you alluded to this. And he was referring to a woman. So you got to be extra careful because women are another protected species, like, other communities that I won't mention on this video, but women are protected. And so you have to be careful if the subject matter in any particular topic is a female, just like if it's a gay person, a trans person, a Jewish person, you have to be very careful and monitor what you say and provide enough context so as to not allow your comments to be confused with anything else. It's very important that you do that. And he didn't do that. So he just spouted off at the hip talking about a woman not being in her prime in her 50s. And it's like, okay, bro, you need to clarify this. Are you talking about childbearing prime, physical prime, intellectual prime, physical prime? Like, what kind of primes are you talking about? Because if you don't clarify it, first of all, even if he was to clarify it, he'd still get bammed up. But you're making it worse by not clarifying, because now you're just whimsically leaving it up to social media troll world to identify you as someone who hates women, basically. And I know that sounds like an extreme, but that's pretty much what this boils down to. It's either A or B, right? It's either one extreme or the other. You're either an ally or you're a hater of an entire population. So as Don Lemon undergoes this formal training, whatever the hell that means, he is someone who is going to have to reconcile with all the people out there how he can be an ally for women while saying these things on national television. And because he didn't provide any context for the use of the word prime in that instance, that's what I can hold him accountable for. But the rest of this is just super duper hyper liberal mumbo jumbo, same as everything else, same as what Kyrie went through, same as what Gina Carano, Nick Cannon, go all the way down the line. If it's not Kevin Spacey or Harvey Weinstein, it's over the top. And so Don Lemon as well is over the top. I think it's ridiculous. His livelihood should not be put into question because he said this, but it is. And even though they announced on CNN that he's going to be back on television, how much do you want to bet that you're going to have people, primarily women, probably complaining about this ad nauseum in the media, as well as other people at CNN who might be threatening to quit or get or not show up to work. People are going to be protesting. People are going to say, "I'm not going to show up to work if you allow Don Lemon to come back,"
That'd
which
be
is going
great.
to which is going to subsequently put pressure on CNN to fire him. And so, even though they made the decision to allow him to recover from his mistake, because of this ridiculous climate that we're in, he might end up getting the boot because of the pressure inherent in the decision to allow him to come back, which is unfortunate, but also, again, not surprising. So, hey, Lemon, all I can say, brother, is provide some context whenever you want to, toe that line, or, just do what you've been doing, man, and just fall in line and say that everybody is great and good and perfect and capable of anything, and just leave it at that. Don't say anything that can even be remotely construed as controversial, because now you're going to have to go through formal training, and good luck with that formal training. I'm sure it'll rehabilitate him. I'm sure it'll effectively rehabilitate Mr. Lemon for all of the wrongdoing that he has done in the world.
Well, this is the issue that I have, with the mainstream media. And right now, the mainstream media agenda seems to be also mainstream music in Hollywood, seems to be forcing extremely liberal views. They call it progressive, but it's honestly no boundaries types of philosophies that they push on their networks, their TV shows, and their music. So Don Lemon, talking piece for one of these propaganda networks, he has a job and a duty to do, and he has a rule brick to follow. He deviated slightly, and he's paying dearly for it. And he's getting shamed and dragged through the mud as if he said something anti-Semitic. He just
Right.
said that, that somebody in their 50s is not in their prime. Big whoop. Now, but I would argue now, like if you're dealing with politics, I would argue that if you're in your 50s, you're politically prime.
Right.
It's kind of like a head coach. You're in your 50s. You done been through enough seasons. You done been through enough football or basketball to know what's going on out there. So in politics, 50 that's the right age bracket. But when you're in your 70s and you're suffering from dementia, clearly, this man can't even find his wallet. Y'all got him out here balancing taxes and stuff. Y'all out y'all mind. Now, even though Trump is also in his 70s, he's a lot more spry. I would just say, man, just call it. There should be like excuse me, a physical for entering presidencies. There should be some type of mental memory retention types of Wonderlic tests that they put the presidents through. And hey, look, man, if you can't find your wallet, you can't lead a press conference. So, yeah, so I do think that this is a small window. So, which hints 50 as prime. 60 is like, hey, you still getting it in, you still got your business. 70 is like, all right, tail end of your career. You're wrapping this up.
Yeah.
And so, but now if you're talking about like you say, fertile years, hey, 50, whoa, you're done. Talking about geriatric pregnancies.
Yeah.
Kid
And
gonna pop out.
by the way, while we're on the subject, on a somewhat related note, shouts out to Debrat for getting pregnant at 48 years old. I don't
No,
know if
she
you
did.
saw
No,
that.
she did not.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So she broke the mold. She's one of the few. I don't know. I haven't read any details. I don't know if she did some kind of treatment or something like that. But shouts out to the brat, 48 years old,
Wow.
pregnant. That's crazy.
Wow. That baby gonna have Benjamin Button disease. Come out. It's like, damn, bruh. He already got, you know what I'm saying, his GED. But shout out to the brat, man. Hey, make it happen, sister. You
Yeah.
making a lot of dreams possible for these sisters out here that can't get a man. So but damn, what was I, man? But yeah, oh yeah, mainstream media and all that jazz, agendas. So with Don Lemon, him being a like I said, a talking piece for the machine, it doesn't, you can see it doesn't take much for them to go, hey, you can't talk like that. Cut it out. Now you got to go through training. He was like, man, I already been through all kinds of sensitivity trainings and transgender this and that and this. Yeah, well, you got to go through feminist sensitivity training. Yeah, man. Now he has to rewire whatever brain that he had of his own to be in line with the agenda. So now, because I already thought the man was on robot mode, just insert a chip in the back of his neck, and now he don't even need a teleprompter. He just, Don Lemon reading the news. So now, it's like, oh shit, bro deviated slightly from the algorithm and he's paying dearly. So that's the part of it that I find completely ironic and absolutely humorous, because he'll be one of the first people to throw somebody else under the bus for breaking some type of woke code.
Yeah.
And so for him to be up under the bus, yeah, man, I find this humorous, man. And like you said, man, there's no honor amongst thieves. And if you're sitting around here playing with these people that who play dirty, yeah, you better watch what you say. So yeah, he's getting Kyrie, and for no reason.
For no reason. Yep.
This is wild stuff. But it was now, if he was talking political crime, he may need to explain himself there.
Right.
He may need to explain that.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing. That's why I go back to what I said. The only thing that I can say, Don, you need to do better here is you're going to have to provide some context, because prime can mean many different things. And if you meant she's not in her political prime because she's over 50, yeah, you need to walk that back, because that's factually incorrect. But if it's not that, no, I'm okay. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you are aware of this or not, but if you're in your 50s, you are well past your physical prime. I don't know if that's news to you, but that's true. If you are a woman and you are in your 50s, you are well past your prime for having children. Okay. If you're just past all those primes, I'm sorry. That shouldn't come off to you as offensive. And see, what the woke mob is doing is they're using it as a linchpin to propagate women. Because what they're doing is they're saying, why is she past her prime? Why is this even something that you're saying in reference to a female, when we have all of these male politicians, as you point out, who are old as dirt and still doing their thing? We ain't hear you talking about nobody being past their prime with them. Well, that's because y'all weren't talking about it on the show at the time. Maybe he would have said it if it would have came up, but it didn't. It just so happened to come up with this particular story, and it just so happened to involve a woman. But because women are a protected species, these types of situations can be used as opportunities for these various groups to out another person who's not down for the cause, as if Don Lemon is somehow not an ally, when for years he's been someone who has told the line and has at least shown publicly to be an ally. Like, am I missing something here? Like I said, the only time I have ever seen Don Lemon not be a quote unquote ally is when he had a few segments here or there talking about black people, ironically. That's the only time I've ever seen him do or say something on CNN where he wasn't being an ally. In every other situation, it's been, yeah, that person's a misogynist, or yes, that's definitely homophobic. Yes, that's definitely anti-woman. Yes, that's definitely transphobic. Yes, that's definitely whatever. I mean, so I just, it shows that there's no limit to how quickly you can become an enemy of the machine. And it is a machine, it's a living, breathing thing. These elements exist in the media for a reason. They're there. The mainstream media uses it to their advantage. It's a very real thing. And the last thing that I'll say is I've always found liberal ideology to be somewhat hypocritical, because isn't one of the tenets of progressivism supposed to be an openness of ideas? Like,
Yes.
isn't that supposed to be
Yes.
one of the primary tenets
It's
of
cornerstone.
progressivism? Yeah. Like, where did I go wrong? Am I missing something? I always thought that a primary tenet of progressivism is welcoming of all ideas. It was supposedly the old school way that was wrong because they were closed off to other ideas. But what the liberal stuff is closing off to all ideas that aren't liberal. So how is it any better? How is it any better? This is what confuses me. I should be, and I said this on a previous video, if I should be able to go on to CNN and say, I prefer to have children that aren't transgender, I should be able to say that.
Oh,
if we're truly in a progressive liberal society, then it is just okay for me to say I have a preference for having kids who are not transgender, as it is for me to say I have a preference for kids to be transgender. But what we see is, if I go on national television and say I prefer that my children are not transgender, I will be outed for being transphobic.
You're right.
But
You're done.
Yeah, it's a wrap on my whole life. Like, they'll throw me in the gulag for that. Like, they will fly me to Russia and put me in the gulag. You know what I'm saying? But if I get on television and I say, "Oh, I would love it if my kids were transgender," they'll be celebrating me as a hero. And how is that progressive? Like, that's not progressive. It's not progressive. It's not. And people really have gotten this twisted. They have conflated progressivism with their own personal ideologies. And because it's on the side of righteousness, it's okay to be dogmatic. But you can't be dogmatic if you are perceived to be on the opposite side of righteousness. But dogmatism is okay as long as you're on the side of righteousness. It's ridiculous. And it's been this way now for several years, and it's getting worse by the day and the month and the year. And so now, yeah, Don Lemon is a victim of this dynamic, just like Cannon and Carano and all of these other people who said perfectly reasonable things, albeit disagreeable at the very most, and had to pay a heavy cost for what they said. And, Lemon's the same. And I ain't no Don Lemon defender, but the facts are the truth is the truth. It is what it is. So the machine is the machine. It will continue to persist. And to people like Lemon and others, this is why I respect. Oddly enough, I can be a Kyrie critic, but what I respect about him is that he thinks for himself. And above all else, I will always respect people who are consistent in that they think for themselves. And Lemon, bro, just think for yourself, bro. Think for yourself. If you were somebody who thought for themselves from the beginning, you might have incurred a lesser penalty. But because you try to toe this line between being the woke ally, but occasionally saying things that might be deemed a little on the edge, now you're in hot water because you're not an ally to women. And so that's what happens with the mob. The mob always wins. So just think for yourself and stay out the way.
If Don Lemon started thinking for himself, he'd start malfunctioning. Steam will start coming out of his neck. It'll just be, it's like, hey man, what's going on with Don Lemon? And this guy here, he's as bought as it gets to me. He is 100% machine. That's the part about this that's like, damn, bro, you're so machine. Like, you can write some of the script, some of it so much. So for this to be a deviation, like, I don't know what he was on that day, maybe too many shots of espresso. What this guy was on. But in any event, Don Lemon, to me, he's always been, since he got on the scene, he's always been a caricature of a person. He doesn't even look real to me. He just looks like somebody that reports on CNN. So it's like, bro, like, who are you, dog? The one time he had an opinion, they dragged his ass. So it's like, yeah, man. So yeah, back into your into your little hub and charge back up and get your training back, because apparently you forgot your way. So shout out to Mr. Lemon, man, giving me a good laugh with this faux pas. This was a good one.
Yeah. Good luck, Dom. I don't know, man. Like I said, he can go through formal training for 6 months. They still they're gonna rake him through the coals for that now for the rest of his career. Every chance they get, if he says anything, they will bring this up and they'll be like, but remember when he said this about Nikki and said she wasn't in her prime? How can you how can you buy anything he said? Like, it's gonna get brought up now into perpetuity for the rest of his career. So go ahead and recharge, bro. Go ahead and
go back to your charging station.
Because it's almost you about to power down at this point, man.
Don Lemon, Don, go sit your ass down, man.
Oh man, yeah, she's not in her prime. What? But that's what we do. That's what we do. That's America, man. It's America.
I gotta love it.
Oh boy. All right, so next up, we got a little sports talk. We're gonna talk about Eric Bieniemy. So, Eric Bieniemy is the subject of sports talk radio every NFL offseason, because year after year, this guy does not get a head coaching job, which allows sports pundits to get on television and the radio and podcasts and talk about how racist the NFL still is.
That's right.
Yeah. So, and this offseason is no exception. So Stephen A went off about this. Stephen A is usually the first person to do this. He went off because Eric Bieniemy did not get a head coaching position. And recently, Eric Bieniemy decided to leave the Chiefs and become the offensive coordinator for the Washington. What are they called?
Commanders.
Commanders. There you go. I almost said Redskins.
Shit! You don't get canceled again, bro.
It used to be the name of the team, people. It used to be YouTube. Do not put me in algorithm purgatory. It used to be the name of the team. I'm sorry. But he recently left the Chiefs and decided to take the offensive coordinator job with the Washington Commanders, because it is believed that one of the reasons why he's having a difficult time getting a head coaching job is because he, as the offensive coordinator, does not call plays. And so the idea is organizations do not want to hire an offensive coordinator to run the show if he does not call plays. And most offensive coordinators who get hired to be head coaches are play callers. And so it's being believed that he's being penalized as a result because he doesn't call plays. Head coach Andy Reid calls plays. Stephen A. Smith uses this as an opportunity to say that he's being held back because of race, because it's race. And Stephen A. isn't the only one who does this, but he's the loudest one who talks about this.
Of course.
And so he spared no expense last week. He was all over First Take talking about how it's race. Now, I was watching, what's the name of that show, Speak, last week, I think. LaShawn McCoy's on Speak, and they talked about this as well. And so LaShawn McCoy talked about what's going on with Bieniemy and why he's not getting a job. And so I thought that this was interesting because it provides perhaps a more reasonable take on why he's not getting a job and how it may not all be about race. But, I'll go ahead and share this screen, and we'll as soon as I find the link here.
God damn. Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, here it
Always,
is.
always fueling the flames.
Yeah, Stephen A. Fandom Flames. So this is what LaShawn McCoy had to say about this situation on Speak. And I'm not going to play the video because I will most certainly be hit with copyright because that's a Fox Sports thing. But this was sort of a report of that episode of Speak from NBC Sports. So it says, I'm rooting for Eric Bieniemy, but he had nothing to do with the Chiefs' passing game. LaShawn McCoy spent the 2019 season in Kansas City playing for head coach Andy Reid and offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy. And McCoy says Reid was the reason for the Chiefs' offensive success. Asked about Bieniemy moving on to become offensive coordinator of the Commanders, McCoy said on FS1 that Bieniemy was riding Reid's coattails in Kansas City. Quote, what's his value? What makes him a good offensive coordinator? The problem is a lot of these people that go on social media, he should be the guy for the job. They haven't played there, McCoy said. I've been in the rooms where he's coaching and he has nothing to do with the pass game at all. When the plays are designed, that's Andy Reid. When you talk about offensive coordinators, I can tell you what makes Brian Daboll with the Giants a very good coordinator. I can tell you about Andy Reid or Doug Peterson, but Eric Bieniemy, what makes him good? When we watch the film of practices and we correct the wide receivers, the running backs, the quarterbacks, he doesn't talk in there. Andy Reid talks in there. Nonetheless, McCoy said he's hoping Bieniemy succeeds in Washington. I'm rooting for him because he's a black coach, and I love to see black coaches win. Also, he's a running backs coach, and running backs coaches never get a chance to be offensive coordinator. McCoy said, "Coach, so I want him to do well, but if I have to do my job and be honest, my thing is where is the value at? The good news for Bieniemy is he now has an opportunity to prove his doubters wrong. In Washington, he'll be coaching under a defensive-minded head coach in Ron Rivera and coaching a team that has been struggling for years to find its franchise quarterback. If Bieniemy gets the passing game going in Washington, that should put doubts to bed." So there you go. There. I was actually watching that episode of Speak when McCoy was saying that, and personally, I'm inclined to agree with that. He played and he was in the organization with these people. So I think he would understand this more than most. But that does not stop a lot of people in the media from saying that it's a racially motivated thing, that it's an agenda. It's a racially motivated agenda against Eric Bieniemy to keep him away from being a head coach because the NFL does not want to hire more black head coaches. And there was the transcript of this wasn't in that story, but I was watching that episode that day, and they asked him whether it has anything to do with race. I think Emmanuel Acho hosts that show, and he was asking LaShawn McCoy, given his experience, like, is it actually anything that has to do with race, or is the race things perhaps a small component but overblown in the media? And McCoy said it's 100% not race. They just want to win and they'll hire anybody. His problem is he's perceived to be someone who's not really exerting any expertise because that's all Andy Reid, who's running the offense, calling plays, doing most of the talking, doing all of the orchestrating, blah, blah, blah. That's what McCoy says. So you can take that for what it's worth. But do you have any takes on Eric Bieniemy? Because we go through this year after year. I feel like for
Goddamn year.
ever since the Chiefs started winning,
Yep.
it's like there's this belief that he has to be a head coach. And
Yep.
every time he doesn't get a job, it's because of racism.
Yep.
And this is every single year, over and over and over again. And I'm watching these shows and I'm like, well, am I the problem? Because I don't think that that's the case. But, what do you have a take on this situation at all? Because it came up again this year.
No, I'm tired of it. I'm absolutely tired of it. I kind of want him to be a head coach so we can just get this over with.
Yeah.
But I was already in the belief system of him being overhyped, and while going out for these job interviews or something, is he's just not hitting somewhere. I was already thinking that he just wasn't good enough to get a head coaching job. And but like you said, once the Chiefs started doing what they've been doing recently, it was just like, okay, well, who's the OC? And I get it. Normally, whether the guy seems qualified or not. If there's an offensive or a defensive coordinator who's in it on a team who's always AFC or NFC championship game contending or going to the Super Bowl every year in and year out, somebody would have scooped that person up just off sheer cachet alone. So that's one bit of the argument that had legs to stand on initially, at least for me. But then as time went on, I was seeing black coaches getting jobs, but not him. So I was like, well, maybe he's just not good enough to be a head coach. This is the big deal here. And I've seen enough token black coaches in the NFL recently where it's disgusting. And we had a conversation about back when we were talking about the Yeezy interview where he was talking about white men being criticized in the media and stuff like that. And in there, I had mentioned that one thing that I cannot stand in the woke media is that if there's a black head coach and he sucks, nobody can say anything. The only thing they can say is how much they like the guy, but they're not getting it done, or it could be this. I like the guy. They always have to say I like the guy, because lest they sound racist, they can't genuinely critique him. No, bro, he sucks. That's fair. Just let it go. I'm not a fan of Todd Bowles as a head coach. I don't think he's a good head coach. I think he's a good defensive coordinator. But when he's out there as a head coach, he looks lost.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin is the only head coach that's black. And I like what Flores was doing too. I don't know what happened there. But Mike Tomlin is doing a phenomenal job from just being consistent year in and year out, getting the best out of his roster. So black guys can coach. They just have to be qualified and good. And if you're not good, we're not going to put you in position. What, for a token position? So we can sign up for L's for the next 3 or 4 years until we find out that, okay, this guy wasn't good, but we made the social people happy.
Yeah.
But the social people, the social people are not going to buy season tickets. We need W's. So I agree with McCoy in the sense that, hey, man, they want wins. They don't care about none of this woke stuff. The only people talking about this is ESPN and the woke media. There's nobody else. If you talk to an average person in the street, they might repeat or parrot talking points that they heard from Stephen A. Smith. Oh, why isn't Eric Bieniemy getting a head coaching job? Why isn't why should he? Can you tell me why he should?
Yeah, right. How about you tell me what you think, sir?
You got some PFF grades, huh? You got some stats and info for me, huh? For his metrics for the last 5 to 6 years? You got something for me? Or you just talking? Well, he's got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. He had Tyreek Hill. He has Travis Kelce. I just named 3 Hall of Famers. I just named one of the arguably one of the Mount Rushmore of head coaches. What are you talking about? So for somebody that was actually in the locker room, who saw it, who was in film room, who was in those meetings, and saw that Andy Reid was the one slanging the thing around, and Bieniemy was the one that was just in there, I'm pretty sure that shows itself when he carries himself into an interview, and they go, "This motherfucker can't count to 10." Sorry, sir, you didn't get the job. Stephen A. Smith hears about it. Oh, we got another race bait topic. How do you feel about this one, man? I feel like this is all hogwash and overblown. How about you, man?
Yeah, I'm exhausted, and I agree with you. So here's where I think people like Stephen A. Smith are coming from. If I'm gonna try and get into the mind of an individual like him,
Hey, good luck.
I know, right? So I think Chris Rock had a bit in one of his stand-ups from way back in the 90s. I want to say it was Bring the Pain, where he said the thing it was either Bring the Pain or Bigger and Blacker. It was one of those two. And Chris Rock was like, racial equality doesn't have to do with giving black people as many opportunities to succeed as white people. It's about giving black people as many opportunities to fail as white people. So I think I didn't even talk to Siri. I don't know what happened there. So I think what people like Stephen, I'm guessing here. I'm guessing. I think what people like Stephen A. Smith are talking about is it's irrelevant whether Eric Bieniemy is qualified, calls plays or not, because look at all of these other white people guys getting these head coaching jobs, and they're just as lacking in qualifications as Bieniemy. So if they can get these jobs and fail, why can't Bieniemy get a job and fail too? I'm assuming that's what an individual like Stephen A. Smith is going off about.
It's pretty nice.
Here's the
I like
problem.
that one.
Right. So here's the problem though with that line of thinking. Um, Rewarding opportunities to people so that they have an opportunity to fail is the result of relationships and not qualifications. Um, if you are an individual who is going to hire somebody for a job and there is a somewhat reasonable expectation that the result can be failure, and you're hiring this individual anyway, you're doing it because there is an efficacy there. There's a relationship component that factors into why you're giving this individual an opportunity and not giving others who might be just as qualified or maybe slightly more qualified. I bring that up to say this. What frustrates me about people like Stephen A. Smith is stop crying every offseason about how these organizations are doing stuff that are racially motivated and start talking about why you need to see more people who aren't white owning teams. Like if you're really that triggered by the fact that Bieniemy is not getting head coaching positions, then how about you at least speak conscientiously about the overarching issue in the NFL, which is at the very top in terms of ownership of organizations. There is a racial homogenization that is present there. So it stands to reason that that's why people like Eric Bieniemy aren't given the same chance to fail as other white head coaches. Because if I'm going to give somebody a chance to not succeed at something, I'm going to give this opportunity to somebody who I'm familiar with. So familiarity breeds contempt, but it also breeds opportunity. If you want to see people like Eric Bieniemy given a chance to fail at something, then you need to start clamoring for more black people or at least non-white people to own teams. Now, is that ever going to happen? No, that will never happen. Let me break something to all of these people out there who are in the media complaining about this stuff constantly. There are two things that are never going to happen for as long as you, I, or anyone else out here lives. Number one, we will never live in a post-racial society. That is a pie in the sky notion. It doesn't exist. It never has. It never will. We will never live in a post-racial society ever, 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 ever. I'm sorry if that freaks you out, but we will never live in a post-racial society. Okay, that's number one. Number two, number two is so long as we will never live in a post-racial society, individuals who are in position to provide opportunities are always going to be more inclined to provide opportunities to those whom they form relationships with. And because for the most part, we form relationships most often with those who come from similar environments as us, this is why individuals like Bieniemy are often left out, because the people who are in decision-making positions tend to be white in the NFL, because at the top, the NFL is racially homogenized. It is what it is. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. If you're uncomfortable with that, and you say this often, go and start another league where there's more people who aren't white who own teams, where there's more people who aren't white who are presidents and GMs and VPs. because in the NFL, the cabal will always be in place. So if you're not going to get to the root of what the real issue is, and you're going to sit there on TV placating to the woke mob by talking about how racist the NFL is every offseason, I got nothing for you, because that is never going to change. It's not going to change. It's going to stay the same. So people like me, and probably you, who get sick and tired of hearing about this every year, like, I'm over it. If they thought that the guy was worthy of doing the job, they'd hire him, because the league, like McCoy said, the league is copycat. They don't care. They just want to get the W's. They just want to get the W's. So the guy would get hired if they felt like it was in line with some of the stuff that they look for when it comes to hiring people. Now, on the flip side, if you want to argue that he should be given a chance to fail, then fine. That's a reasonable take. I get that. But that's not what Stephen A is saying. What Stephen A is saying is the NFL is not doing this because it's racially motivated. And I think that that does the conversation an injustice, personally, in my opinion. Um, Now, I'm trying to be reasonable towards Stephen A, like I said, and I'm assuming that what he's really talking about is give the guy a chance to not succeed the way the rest of these white guys have a chance to not succeed. But if you're allowing me to put words into your mouth and you're not going to articulate that, then at the end of the day, you just sound like a person on ESPN, like the rest of them shows on ESPN, filibustering all day, every day about problems that will never change and will persist into eternity, and constantly complaining about racism in the NFL and how stuff is racially motivated, when in reality, maybe the guy just doesn't have the qualifications needed. Maybe he just doesn't. Maybe he doesn't. I'm sorry to break the news to you, but maybe he doesn't. And what's the value of hiring? What is the value truly of hiring Eric Bieniemy to fail, when, like you said, we get these David Culleys and these Lovie Smiths and these Anthony Lynn's who get hired and fired after a year or two because they get hired by organizations who are dysfunctional and don't know what they're doing. And the guys get brought into dysfunctional situations where failure is an inevitability. And then they end up on the outside looking in. And now you're complaining again about racism. So, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, look, man, I hope the guy succeeds too. He's going to be in Washington calling plays. Hopefully, the Washington Commanders win games and he can get a job. But please be aware that if he gets a job at a dysfunctional organization, he's going to get fired in 2 or 3 years. And then you'll be right back to the drawing board. Where is that going to get you? So I hope people like, well, I'm not trying to tell Stephen A. Smith what to think about, but people, like you said, who are going to parrot the speech of people like Stephen A. Smith on the street and ESPN, who are going to regurgitate all of this stuff without actually knowing what's going on. Like, these are some of the things that you have to think about. Like, we're not post-racial. People make hiring decisions based upon familiarity. The league is racially homogenized at the top. And on top of that, why do you want him to be brought into a situation where he's doomed to fail in the first place? Like, all of these things matter. And when you put all of that into a pot and add it all up, maybe he hasn't gotten a head coaching job for legitimate reasons, and maybe it's not purely racially motivated.
Yeah, well said. I just think that Stephen A. Smith, standard issue, it's a lazy analysis. He's black. He didn't get the job. He didn't get it because he was black.
Yeah.
It can be. It could be a degree of that. It's not a bonus, unless you're run by some liberal organization who's trying to tank. I got a theory out there. And I've noticed this, that when organizations are intentionally tanking, they'll put a black guy in there. Now, it's not to set him up for failure. They already know whoever's going to be in there is going to fail. They put him in there so people don't slander him. You can't talk about him. You have to like him. He can't suck. He can't be an idiot. So y'all go 2 and whatever. y'all go 2-15. But nobody can really say anything about the coach because you don't want to be a racist, do you? So the same thing goes when they fire a coach and then they put an interim coach in, they'll pick a black person. It's a good pawn to put in there. It's like when certain things now they're in organizations, not in sports per se, but in organizations, they'll put a woman in certain positions. So hey, what you gonna say about her? Huh? Are you was a misogynist? They'll double down. They'll put a black woman in there. Now she's black and a woman. God damn. And just like how they did with the Supreme Court Justice lady, all right, she's a black woman. I don't know if she's interracial marriage. She's the whole gambit. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if she doesn't know policy or whatever. She's a good person that you can't criticize. Because if you say one thing about her, or you don't like her because she's married to a white man, or you don't like her because she's black, you don't like her because she has locks, oh, you don't like her because she's strong. It's a good little, it's a defense thing. And they put these bots in these positions just so they can absorb all the tension and hate. Now, this isn't for all scenarios, but this is for scenarios where there's clearly nothing happening. And there clearly will be nothing to happen. They just hired D'Amico Ryan in Houston for the Texans. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty live. I wish him the best. But that last dude that they put in as a puppet, I was like, why the hell
they put two puppets in a row, Cully and then Lovie Smith.
Two black guys.
Two black guys in a row at the Texans.
And so you can't say nothing.
Right.
Because what you gonna say? He sucks? You're a racist. But if they put a white guy in there, they're slandering the shit out of him. Every day you wake up. I'll relate this, for college football people. And if you want to look at what Jimbo Fisher's doing for the Texas A&M, by the way, bro, I had watched that video we had did a long time ago about when Jimbo went to Texas A&M. I nailed it, bro. I nailed it. I nailed it. But Jimbo, he's trash. Everybody tears him down about how trash he is. If Jimbo was black, these are not the same videos, not with the same tone. So my thing is that for the wokeness is so pervasive in mainstream media and everything like that, that a situation like this has to come up every year. And I'm sick of it, honestly. Mm-hmm. I feel like this has been going on for the last 5-6 seasons. He might not even been offensive coordinator that long, but I feel like I've been dealing and hearing his name. Bieniemy.
It's every off season. It's every off season.
I'm like, okay, Bieniemy was good, and I see him, and there's no knock on the guy. It's no knock, but he doesn't look like. He looks like he played running back. Oh, Mario, what you mean by that? Listen. It looks like he took a lot of hits across the head. It looks like he's just a running backs coach. And I feel like they propped him up as OC in Kansas City as just a figurehead. And yes, Andy Reid's show. Did he pick up some stuff through osmosis? Yeah, I'm sure he did. But the genius of that offense, everybody knows it is Andy Reid. Mm-hmm. And Bieniemy there is just a maintenance man. And a guy that stand there and look good with a damn laminated board. So, hey, man, I think it's trash. I genuinely believe that he's not qualified. Big whoop. I don't think he's good enough because they will hire. Like, you get so many points for hiring a black coach. if he's black and competent, that's a double whammy. That's a double
Yeah.
W.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you do that if he's, whatever. I really don't think I think when he gets into these interviews, it has nothing to do about articulation. It has everything to do about his capability of leading a locker room of men. And if he can't do that, then he's not getting the job.
Mm-hmm.
So don't feel bad about it. He got the OC job over there. They're setting him up. The media is setting him up. He didn't ask for all of this. Now, if he gets a head coaching job and then he bombs, then what? So I don't like it, man. He can't win. He can't win in this. I can see if he was around here kicking up the dust. Hey, man, he's going around on qualifying, interviewing. And if he's not qualified, then that is what that is. But I don't hear him saying anything.
Yeah, he's not. He's definitely not doing what Brian Flores did. They fired Brian Flores, and he immediately went fire and brimstone on the Dolphins and the league. He's suing everybody. Brian Flores said, "I don't give a damn. I'm suing everybody because I know what I know and I know what I'm doing." Yeah. And honestly, Brian Flores to me is looking vindicated in that situation because he did not want Tua. He didn't like Tua. And Tua's a nice kid, but he's brittle as hell. And Brian Flores was like, I don't think this is the guy. And there was some other stuff going on. And the Tua thing, well, he was overruled with the Tua thing. And then there's some other weird stuff with Tom Brady and Sean Payton. And so, but the point is, Brian Flores being a competent person who was confident in his competence, when he was collateral damage for the Dolphins, he went fire and brimstone. And Bieniemy, he's not that he needs to go fire and brimstone, but I don't necessarily see him publicly talking about how he's being overlooked for opportunities.
I agree.
And I think that there's a reason for that. It's just this mainstream media, you have to consume this stuff in reasonable doses. And when you see, once you've gotten to the third or fourth show throughout the day where they're talking about Eric Bieniemy and race and race, just turn the station and go somewhere else. I agree with McCoy. I think McCoy is right. He was in the damn locker room, so why wouldn't he know? He was on the offense. He's a running back. He said this. So who are we to discredit what he's saying? But people will do it because they just want to be able to fit the narrative that it has to be about race, because there's this insatiable desire to make stuff about race. And I don't really think it is. I just think that he's just not getting it just because. And even if it was racially motivated, which I don't think it is necessarily, but even if it was, what's the value of him getting an opportunity in which he's set up to fail? You want him to be another Cully or Lovie Smith or Anthony Lynn? What's the use of that? Like, what purpose does that serve? What does that do symbolically? That he finally got a job in which he's doomed to fail.
Well, that's why it's called diet. That's why it's called diet woke, bro. It's all of this crap going on. 0 calories. There's nothing in there. So they got all this stuff going on. Oh yeah, we finally got a black head coach. All right, well, he's in a situation where this team has a bad organization, top to bottom. They draft poorly. The roster's crap. The salary cap is crap. There's no way he can turn this around.
Yeah, bad contracts, all kind of stuff.
Yeah, man.
I don't get it. It's funny too. You bring up Jimbo. So my current employer, we are we are a publisher. So we publish lifestyle publications, and one of them is big in the Tallahassee area. Mm-hmm. And when I thought it was so interesting when now Willie Taggart, in my opinion, bad head coach at Florida State. He didn't do a good job. He did a bad job at Florida State as a head coach. I don't give a damn what you say. I don't care about him being black. He sucked at his job. He sucked. Okay. And he got fired. And my employer, falling in line, published a whole editorial story in on the website about how for Willie Taggart, winning meant more than winning football games. It was about win. We published this story that painted him in this positive light as a victim of a corrupt system because he was a black coach for Florida State. So I wasn't a part of this story. I actually personally detested the story, but I understood why we did it. We did it because it was a part of college football wokeness, if you will. And it was about making him look as pristine as possible, even though he sucked at his job. And I do believe that if that was Jimbo, he would have been getting destroyed for ruining FSU. He would have been getting if it was the same exact circumstances, but it was Jimbo and not Willie Taggart, we wouldn't have been publishing those stories talking about how Jimbo cared about life and family and it was more than winning games. But Jimbo's a white guy. And so when you're a white guy, it's socially acceptable to criticize them for being poor at their job. But if you're black, you can't do it because you're afraid of being outed as racist. So you have to placate wokeness by talking about all these other things to make them seem redeemable. When it's just about job performance, man. Willie Taggart sucked at his job. I'm sorry. He wasn't good at it. And I'm saying this as a fan. I went to Florida State. I'm a fan of Florida State football, and he sucked at his job. He sucked. He sucked. I'm sorry. He wasn't good.
And I agree with that. I feel like the reason why the quality of a lot of things in society has gone down is from all this air quote equal opportunity crap. And there's people in positions that don't deserve to be there, and people say, "Oh, Mario, man, oh, you out here, you benefit from affirmative action." I'm sure I've had a job or two or three where I benefited from affirmative action because I'm the only black man in there. So it's like I got to be hitting some type of damn quota in here. So I know I done got opportunities before just because I'm a black male, And but the thing about me is, when I get opportunities, I ball out in them. I just ask for the opportunity.
Right.
There's some people who just ask for opportunities and just for the sake of the opportunity. And they just up in there and they don't know what the hell they're doing and they mess it up. And so this whole woke thing where everybody get an equal shot, or we got to have this much percentage of this, we got to have that much percentage of that. I would highly argue that that's, I don't know how you can quantify this, but it has added to the degradation or the lack of quality of everything. Standards across the board are just down. And I would argue that it's because there's people in positions that aren't qualified to do certain jobs. And then, hindsight, if I had said this in 1999, I would have been labeled a Republican and I would have been annexed out of the black community. But, hey man, I don't live 30 plus years on this planet. And I haven't seen enough empirical data with my two eyes. And I've seen people in positions that don't need to be there. But I can tell that the only reason why they're there is because they're black. The only reason why I'm there is because I'm black. But I ball out. There's people that get in these positions and they don't do their jobs. It's not all, but it's people in there that aren't doing it. So if you're going to have head coaches that are black just for the sake of having black head coaches to meet some type of weird NFL quota, that doesn't, y'all just going to put people in positions just to be putting people in position. Yeah. So I'm not saying that there aren't black guys that can't be head coaches, that aren't qualified to be head coaches, that if you take a black guy right now somewhere who's coaching wherever, you throw him in the NFL and he can go on a, Belichick type run. I'm not saying that that's not possible, and I'm not saying that, through some type of networking or whatever, type of thing, that guy's not somehow marginalized. But at the same time, eventually I do feel like the cream rises to the top in industries like the NFL, the NBA, and stuff like that, where winning is at a premium because winning means money, revenue, money, revenue, ticket sales, all that good stuff.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and so in these situations, nah, man, I agree with Shady. I don't think he was qualified. Um, I just don't think so. And came from a black man. So
Go
now,
figure.
yeah. So
Yeah.
now what people now they're just gonna call him a sellout, right?
It is what it is, man. I just like, I can halfway understand people who say uh black, let's not extrapolate it to the rest of life. Let's just keep it strictly
Yeah.
within like NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand where it's reasonable if people say black people need to be given just as much of a chance to fail as white people. To me, I can understand where they're coming from with that, because at that point you're saying equal shot. If white guy's gonna get this chance here, black guy should get this chance there. If white guy's unqualified and black guy's unqualified, then there should be some equitability there in terms of access to opportunity if we're dealing with the same level of qualifications. And I can somewhat get that. I honestly can. But in my opinion, what purpose does that serve? Like, I personally, and this is just my personal opinion, and I'm going to leave it here. I don't see what purpose that serves, because what is the value of giving a black person an opportunity to fail if they're going to be fail and out of that opportunity anyway? So what, we got the chance to feel good for a certain period of time while he was there. Like, that shouldn't be the end goal. But I feel like for a lot of these people who preach this rhetoric, that's what it's about, is give everybody equal chance to fail. And I'm not saying that Eric Bieniemy would undoubtedly fail, but this idea that equitable treatment means give everybody the same chance to be shitty at their job, to me, it kind of seems below the bar. So um, that's just how I look at it. I agree with McCoy as well. I think there's a reason why he hasn't gotten the chance. And for his sake, I hope he succeeds with the Commanders so that he does get, the requisite sort of perception needed in terms of some of the things that these people need to bring to the table. But at the same time, to what end if that means he gets hired into a bad organization that's dysfunctional?
Yeah, and
So
I'll just say this, and by him going over there, it's a way of him taking off the training wheels. It's a way of him getting away from Andy Reid, seeing if he can actually use those legs and wobble and walk himself and run and create himself his own career versus being in the shadows of Andy Reid. So people can argue that it's a lateral move and blah 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 blah, but I think this was a good lateral move in the sense that now he can actually show and prove that I do call offenses. So
yeah,
he actually has to show and prove in this situation, because whether it's positive or negative, whether if the guy's qualified and he's just being overshadowed by Andy Reid, that's another angle. But here's a way for him to actually prove himself. But
right.
so best of luck to him, but we'll see what happens. But
Mm-hmm.
I agree with Shady here. I agree with
Yeah,
Mr. Shady.
yeah, me too. Me too. Good luck being me. And, to the rest of the race baiters out there, keep doing your thing.
Get a life. Get over it.
Okay, last up, we're going to talk about
This guy.
not aging well. But Bow Wow's not aging well. I don't give a damn. Bow Wow is
Ain't he
not
younger than
aging well.
us?
Yeah, yeah, but he's in our age bracket. He's like 2 or 3 years younger than us. So he's not that much younger than us, but yeah, he's younger than us. Um, but he's not aging well. He over there looking like he done ate one too many Krispy Kreme donuts, personally. Um, but Bow Wow recently, um, got on the subject of, yeah, he's only 1 year younger than us, bro. He's our age. But Bow Wow recently decided to talk about male groupies and how these dudes out here about how these dudes out here need to, reprioritize themselves and stop acting like he claims that these men act more like groupies than women do. I thought I thought that this was quite interesting. because we oftentimes talk about new humans on this channel. So
That's
this gives
right.
us the opportunity to talk about new humans once again on this channel using Bow Wow's words. So this is from Bow Wow's personal. I'm guessing he went on Instagram with this because it doesn't say TikTok anywhere on the video there. Uh, so we'll go ahead and play this and we'll talk about what Bow Wow had to say. I thought that this was some interesting stuff. Uh, be warned, I don't know whether he had his HD settings off on his phone or what the deal was, but his audio and video are not synced. This is not us. This is Bow Wow. This is Bow Wow's video, not us. So forewarning. But we'll go ahead and listen to what Bow Wow had to say about male groupies, and then we'll give our opinions afterwards.
What y'all say? Men have to be the most groupied out, annoyingest creatures in a nightclub. Ladies, it's not the ladies, it's not the women. And I tell women this all the time. They be like, "Oh, your section gonna be full of groupies." Da, da, da. All right, yeah, it's gonna be some baddies for sure. Like that's the only way it's gotta be. But these dudes, though, I gotta stop thirst balling in the club. Like that shit is crazy. Niggas be pushing the women out the way to get as close as they can to the dude, like to the celebrity. This shit gotta stop. Like last night, one person made it just so nasty at the club, like dude yelling all over the music. Yo, Bow Wow, come here, come here. First of all, bro, you wasting your time waving your hands telling me come here. I don't know you and I'm not walking nowhere. Like that's number one. Number two, like it's just time for niggas to have like some proper club etiquette, man. You niggas ain't got no proper club etiquette. Have a good time, kick it, get on something, you know. Instead of watching me have fun all night, get on something. Get on.
God damn. That boy recorded that on a Motorola Razor.
Yeah, so yeah, Bow Wow is calling dudes out for thirst balling. This is another word. This is a word I've never heard before. I'm not
Thirst
exactly
balling?
sure what thirst. I can guess. I can use context clues
Yeah, me
to
too.
deduce
Yeah.
what thirst balling means,
Yeah.
but I have not heard that term before. I don't know what thirst balling is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he says male groupies and dudes be trying to push women out the way to get closer to the celebrities than the women are. And dudes need to stop being so thirsty and need to get on something in the club. So I thought this was good stuff. This is good new human commentary. Is there anything that you make of Bow Wow's thirst balling comments towards men of today?
So dealing with Bow Wow. How do I say this? So with Bow Wow,
Yeah.
he has this complex where he always has to be cool. It's just so weird. For somebody who was as cool as Bow Wow was, personally, he carries himself like somebody who's trying to be cool. And when I say as cool as somebody like Bow Wow was, I mean, bro, you remember the wave in school?
Oh yeah. Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
those girls was coming to school with those little magazines, those little teen crush magazines, and this and this and that, and oh, Bow Wow this, Bow Wow that. So much
Yes.
so I had to run out and get braids.
Yeah.
Now I didn't get them because of him per se. I mean, I was a real Iverson fan. So if anybody motivated me, it was Iverson. But it was a thing where it was just part of the wave, bro, and I had to get with it. I was like, I'm not getting left behind with this. So if he actually can see himself how people saw him, I really don't think he would be acting such a cornball. But me personally, I think the guy's a corny guy. And so this situation here, this is him again trying to come off cool to people. So much so that he's like, look, bro, I don't just got female groupies. Oh shit. I got men groupies too. And I'm like, bro, this is an odd flex. Why go live in the morning in your bed with your flip phone and talking about how last night at the club some dude was trying to holler at you. Talking about some bow wow. Oh, don't talk to me. I don't know you. Bro, what kind of flex is this? There's been so many male celebrities, straight and gay, if you want to include Lil Nas X. This is the first time I've heard of thirst balling. Now, I can go ahead and deduce why Bow Wow of all people would be talking about guys trying to holler at him in a club. What do you say, sir? How do you feel about this situation? Now, that was my angle. I have other angles to this.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this?
When I was a cook, I used to have a part-time job as a cook at a restaurant. I won't name the restaurant, but there were a lot of, I worked around a lot of women, and I worked around a lot of different characters, a lot of men and women. It gave me the opportunity to, being in that job, this is one of the reasons why I say that it kind of benefits everyone to have a job in service at least once in their life. I think that it will benefit everybody at least once in life to have a job in service, because when I had this job, it allowed me to have a bird's eye view to how eclectic and different types of personality types are. And I bring that up to say that it gave me the opportunity to witness the wave of new humans entering our society. And one of these types of new humans entering our society was highly emotionally volatile, emotive men who exhibited behavioral characteristics that women perceive to be feminine. So there was one particular situation in which, and now I'm not saying this is coming from women who are telling me this. There was one particular situation where I was working in the kitchen with this one kid. We were on a closing shift. Manager came into the kitchen, said something that wasn't good. Like, he said something. I think that he came in and saying, "Hey man, I know that y'all trying to wrap it up so y'all can go home. Just got the call from one of the regional managers. The owner is going to be in the store tomorrow afternoon, so we got to pull a bunch of this stuff out, scrub some walls. We got to do some extra cleaning. We got to wipe down a little harder. We got to scrub some walls. We got to spray some stuff. We got to do a bunch of stuff that we don't typically have to do on a regular closing shift. This is going to take us about another 45 minutes to an hour to get out of there, and it's already late."
Damn.
So, me, I'm like, damn, this is kind of messed up. But it is what it is. I'm the one who's on this job. If I hate it that much, I can just walk out. I'm not going to do that because I need the money. So I got to sit there and do what I got to do. Boss man said I got to scrub a little more walls. Let me scrub some more walls. The kid who I was working with lost it. He lost it. He lost control of himself. He was just going off, damn near crying on how much he didn't want to have to do this extra cleaning duty. Cussing up a storm, talking about how he gonna walk out, talking about how much he hate this shit, on and on and on and on and on. Mind you, he's doing so much complaining that it took us even longer to finish the work because he wasn't actually doing the work. He was complaining. Had he just done the work, we would have been done like 15, 20 minutes before we were actually done. But he spent so much time bitching and complaining that it took us like an hour and a half to be finished. So when the night was over, one of the girls who was closing with us, she was a server, cute girl too. This was the girl that he's tried to, now this kid who I work with, he's tried to holler at this girl on several occasions. Girl was cute. Now, don't get me wrong. She looked good. Went to FAMU and everything. And
Yeah.
this kid's trying to this kid had been trying to holler at her for a long time. Just bear with me. I'm gonna get into a point with Bow Wow. So she had been turning him down. She had been turning him down, turning him down, turning him down. She was with us that night. She was the closing server. Just like we got hit with extra cleaning duties, she got hit with extra cleaning duty. So we all in this together. So come the end of the night when we finally get checked out, he storms out of the building, bitching, crying because he had to do all of this stuff. And she was just looking at him and she was just like, you know, it's no wonder why, these, women don't want to talk to this guy. He has no control over his emotions. And I turned and I looked at her and I was like, hey man, listen, these guys nowadays are being celebrated for being emotive and essentially being feminine in terms of just kind of going wild with their emotions. And they get dug into this because they spend all of this time on social media believing that it's okay to be this way. And they wonder why the women don't respect them. And she agreed 100%. She was like, yeah, that's 100% correct because I don't respect this guy. And he just needs to get in. He needs to get in check of. He needs to get more in check of his emotions because he's tripping. Not for nothing, but down the road, she ended up trying to holler at me. I don't think that's a coincidence. I'm not a guy who sits here losing control of his emotions. Now, to relate that to what Bow Wow said, remember when we did the video with Lori Harvey, and Lori Harvey was talking about how she uses NDAs to protect herself. Right. And the point that I brought up was there's a lot of bitch-made men in the world who date in a feminine manner. And so they do a lot of things that women historically have done, such as get catty and talkative and like to kind of put the business out into the world in terms of what they do with men, in terms of what they do with women, similar to the way women have always done that. Well, I feel like what Bow Wow's talking about in that clip is new age male humans who do things in a feminine way and need to get themselves in check. Because if you weren't on this new human, new wave emotive stuff that men are on nowadays, you wouldn't be in the club thirst balling, pushing women out the way to talk to me, Bow Wow. You would instead be trying to talk to the women around Bow Wow. But according to Bow Wow, these guys are trying to bogart the women to get closer to him. Now, I also hear what you're saying, and I agree with that. Bow Wow be on some goofy stuff. But I think the spirit of his message is these new humans out here, these males, need to get themselves in check because this factors into the theory of the 30 versus 70%. And why you have so many of these incels running around out here, not sexually active, not even in the vicinity of women, because they're spending too much time embracing their femininity. And I think Bow Wow was getting at that with some of what he was saying in that clip. I think it stands to reason that if you're a guy in the club, thirst balling, moving women out the way to get closer to Bow Wow because you're embracing your inner groupie, that you're also one of these new human men who have no control over themselves emotionally, emote, and don't garner the respect of the women, and consequently the women end up stepping over you because of that. This is a problem that I see happening in our current society. I think it's an issue. It needs to be said more and more. It is what it is that the messenger in this particular situation just so happened to be Bow Wow, but it is what it is. I'll take what I can get. I do think that this is happening. It needs to stop. These are the same guys who have several OnlyFans subscriptions. Right. These are the same guys who follow Instagram models and TikTok influencers and like every video and comment on every video. These are the same guys. So these same guys are also in the club bum rushing.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. And so if I can use Bow Wow's commentary as a reason to bring this up on this channel yet again, I'm going to do so because I think it's an issue. It's a problem. These women out here don't respect you men. They don't. They don't respect you. And they don't respect you because of situations like this. They do not want to see a dude moving past them to holler at a male celebrity. But here we are again. This is new human stuff. So there you have it. That was the take that I had on this. Yeah, Bow Wow might be the messenger, so you can take that for what it's worth. But I still think that there is a spirit of a message in what he is saying or what he is trying to convey. Or maybe I'm using my own thought process to infuse it into what he is putting out there. But I do believe that these are the same guys. I think we're talking about the same dudes out here. And I think that these guys are a growing segment of our population, and they're doing men a disservice. They are doing all men a disservice, and they are growing in numbers. And eventually they're going to outnumber the rest of us who are on true masculinity and true manhood. And eventually that 30% who's getting 100% of the women while 70% is out here embracing their incel tendencies, that ratio is going to become 80 to 20, 90 to 10. And pretty soon it's just going to be crazy out here in these streets.
Yeah. Get on the right side, fellas. Hey,
so, hey, man, you can heed my words if you want. I think I'm speaking facts here. But this is where we're headed. And Godspeed to the minority of men who understand the value of not placating to this madness. And I nevertheless will say that I appreciate Bow Wow for at the very least putting this video out so that we can talk about this very serious social issue once again.
somebody's got to crunch the numbers on that. If you're like part of the 20%, I guess somebody could do the quick math. You good at math? If I'm part of the 20%, how many women is that for me? Is that 40? 20%? How many percent?
Well, we would have to do a deep dive on the math because because we would have to look at how many sexually active women are there worldwide. So you'd have to look whatever that number is, take 20% of that or 30% of that, and that'll give you an actual hard figure of what that looks like. But I don't know how many women that is. It's a lot though. There's 7 billion people in the world, and the majority of those people are women. So it's got to be a few billion at least. Speaking on it reasonably.
So, and this is what I'm getting at, fellas. So let's just get on the right side of the fence. These guys out here thirsballing after Bow Wow. You got to leave these guys at the bottom part of the genetics pool. They can't reproduce. So let them sit there and play Overwatch.
Fortnite. Yeah.
Fortnite. Let them sit there and play their games. Let them qualify themselves genetic swimming pool. All right, let's allow. Listen, man. And by the way, I agree with your point. So I do think, that was my initial take from listening to this. I'm like, what are you talking about? So yeah, bro, I'm pretty sure in 1991, when Heavy D was performing at some type of whatever in the Bronx, whatever borough you guys are from. All right. No, not you New York people. I'm just saying, like, I'm from the Bronx. Like, okay, I get it. Brooklyn, I get it. So Heavy D's out there performing, Blase Splees, and then, he's wrecking it. And then some jackass in the crowd, he existed back then too. Some jackass in the crowd, just over thirsty, like, hey, Heavy, hey, I'm one of your biggest fans. I mean, fighting over all the little tenderonis just to get the Heavy D. And I'm pretty sure he witnessed that. Now, there was no Instagram or no whatever, or no Razor phones, flip phones to record it on. All right. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure Heavy D wasn't, run around flexing that. I feel like and the reason why I brought that up is he still wants to feel like he's relevant. He still wants to let people know that people are after me, even men. And that's what I'm saying. It's weird, but who are those men? And I agree with you. Who are those guys doing that? Those are the guys that aren't guys. They're just shells of men. They're running around with testicles and penises, but everything about them hollers female. And what's going on is, of course, the effeminization of men and the masculinity of women. And with this targeting of these two genders, we have the mess that we have now. And but yeah, to speak on the woke mafia and them pushing this air quote progressivism stuff where, we're supposed to be better off now than we were 20, 30 years ago. I mean, the fruits of the labor speaks for itself when we have these men out here that aren't really men. And they were taught and trained and coddled to not have these things that were air quote called toxic. This toxic masculinity concept this term, I won't say concept, the term has been recently coined. This concept has been getting preached to our generation and beyond and beyond. This ultra liberal way of looking at gender, race, which isn't bad, right? But gender, roles and all this other stuff, like everything, like we've been getting that stuff bombarded to us. I can remember some of these social dynamics in elementary school. All right. So it has only gotten more progressive since then. So, it has created and coddled this whole generation of males out here that aren't really manning.
Yeah.
And now they're at a Bow Wow concert or club situation. And now he fighting over females. And this is like, hey, but you gotta be honest. Bow Wow, he's a you know me on this show. I'm the guy who does the wild speculations. And so Bow Wow to me always came off as a industry guy who's a little whatever. So I'm pretty sure he's got some male fans out there that like him some Bow Wow. So so I think he can get pansexual with his groupies, if you know what I'm getting at. But but be that as it may, I agree with your points, man. Men need to tighten up, man. We as a whole, you're giving some of these females out here that be dogging us out more ammunition.
Yeah.
You're making us look bad because not all of us out here are fighting over women to go holler at a man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't even fight over women to get to a woman. Right. Let alone fight over women. That's not something that I do. I'm not going to bogart anyone to gain access to any human. To me, that's too much human hero worship and groveling, and self-subordination for my liking. And what
about Michael Jackson?
I don't care who it is.
Oh shit!
I don't give a damn. Why do I care about Michael Jackson anyway? I mean, I can see if you said Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson. I don't care about that.
All right, Michael Jordan.
I don't care.
How you feel about that?
No. I wouldn't. I know me. I wouldn't. I don't care. It's just that's too much self-subordination for my liking. Yeah, and I think that if you are comfortable with that variety of self-subordination, then there are certain other behavioral characteristics inherent in you that I can correlate, such as highly emotive tendencies, which I don't care how progressive we get. Most women aren't going to respect those types of behavior qualities. They don't. They perceive them as a form of weakness on the part of anyone who's a man. Now they'll still deal with you because they'll extract what resources they can from you because they at that point see you as a mark. But on a whole, is there respect for you? No, there isn't. And there's just more and more of these guys out here walking around in these streets, and I'm not here for it. However, I will continue to be a part of that 30%. And hey, man, just like we talk about not caring about whether guys are gay or not, because that's more vagina for me. Hey, man, the more of these guys we got out here who decide to throw in the towel because their OnlyFans subscriptions are sufficing, and their social media activity is sufficing, and their Pornhub activity is sufficing, the more actual vagina there is for me. So I'm out here trying to help you guys out. But if you don't want to accept my help, no sweat off my back. That's more for me. So have at it. But I do think that there is a point to what Bow Wow is talking about, because what he is witnessing with these male groupies thirst balling over him is a problem in our culture that is continuing to grow, because the same trait that makes a guy thirst ball is the same trait that will make him curl up into a ball of incelness. And that's pretty much how I see it.
Hey, well said, man. Tighten up, fellas.
Big time.
This is inexcusable. All right.
Yeah.
Don't let the world see this, man. They'll be thinking that I don't know, man, that we can't hold it down. But I'll tell you this: the future's bright for us, 30%ers. But somebody's got to do the job while people are not picking up the slack. But at the same time, man, it's a duty that we must carry out.
Yeah.
And one day things will get rectified, but we're the guys responsible for making sure that these women stay satisfied in these dark days. So get to work.
I feel like Peter Parker, man. With great power comes great responsibility. I'm Peter Parker. We're Peter Parker. Well, I'm never mind. I'm Miles Morales because he's the Black Spider-Man. But same deal. I'm out here helping you guys. I'm trying to help y'all. I really am. I know I get on this channel and I might seem whatever, but I'm trying to help y'all out. And if you don't want to accept my help, that's on you. That's on you. But we didn't make that video up. Bow Wow made that video. That wasn't us. I didn't make Bow Wow put that out there. Clearly, this is something that happens to him a lot, where these dudes are out here trying to holler. So I didn't make that. Like, I didn't do this. I'm using it on the channel, but I didn't create that video. He did. And I can only imagine that if he's talking about it, him being the extroverted personality that he is, how many other male celebrities who experience the same thing, probably even more so, but don't care enough to make a video about it. I can only imagine how much is actually going on that isn't talked about, swept under the rug. But whatever, it is what it is. New humans. Y'all keep playing your Fortnites and Overwatches and spending your allowance on OnlyFans subs.
What a life, man. No wonder they're not getting no vagina.
Oh boy, I hope y'all are enjoying life, man. I really do. But appreciate Bow Wow for the content. We're gonna go ahead and end it on that note, man. This is a great stream. Another Constant Approach video on the YouTube channel in the books. My name is JV Wins. That is Dogon SS. Appreciate everybody for tuning in, and we appreciate everybody who has been joining the tribe as we continue to put out that logical content. If you happen to be watching this video as a part of the stream, or if you watch this as its own standalone video, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. Hit that like button, help us get to 1,000 subscribers. Be on the lookout for the RSS feed as we make ourselves available on all podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, so on and so forth. You can follow Conscious Approach on Instagram at JVWins, JVWINS. I mean, you can follow me on Instagram at JVWins, JVWINS. But you can also follow Conscious Approach on Instagram at ConApproach. CONAPPROACH. If you happen to be watching this video on the Facebook page, go ahead and follow the page. Also, like the page. Leave a comment wherever you are watching this video because we pay attention and respond, so long as they are not of the troll variety. Until next time, we certainly appreciate you supporting logical content as we continue to rock and roll. Thank you for being a part of our wonderful community here.
And the name is Dogon SS. You can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS and on YouTube at Dogon SS. All right. And as I always say on every pod, everybody, all right, don't be too high, don't be too low. Keep it calm, keep it chill, keep it player. Don't let anybody get you off your pivot. All right. And until next time, guys, we'll catch y'all on the flip side.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are out. Another video in the books. We'll see you later. Peace.
Peace.